All right. So we're going to transition away from LMU. We can talk about LMU a lot. We're going to talk about all these teams a lot, but let's transition to the team we are physically here to see, and that is USF. This USF squad, you end up harping on a lot of like their home record, whatnot this past year. I am looking at like the 20 plus wins, 8 of the 9 last seasons. Like that's the number that keeps sticking out of my mind. This USF squad has been the most consistent outside of St. Mary's and Gonzaga in the WCC over the last decade. This is a team that has the only NCAA tournament appearance outside of Gonzaga St. Mary's in the last almost 20 years. Like San Diego in 08 is the only other outlier to that. You look at what San Francisco has been able to put together, what Chris Gerlufsen has been able to continue to build after Todd Golden left. This is going to be one of the more fascinating stories to watch because they're a team that has a lot of potential, a lot of expectation now, and it feels like that we have seen them build and build and build. And to your point, I have proof in the pudding for a lot of what the Dons have been able to do. Now it's time for them to take that next step with the talent they brought in.
And you look at it, I'm not going to sit here and say you want to go. Everyone wants to go 4-0 against Gonzaga St. Mary's in the regular season. Sure. Realistically, like there's a world where USF can go 2-2 against them. You win both of your home games and a quasi home game, depending on how it gets announced later on in the year. USF has got some of the pieces that have made them so consistent. And you think of, I think they have some of the best step they've had in recent years heading into this season, at least on paper. And you corral all that together. You think of the energy that Ryan Beasley brings and the way he kind of burst onto the scene as a starter towards the end of last season. There's so much to like. Tyrone Riley coming back. And I think for me, the biggest question is, did they beef up enough? I think that's the age-old question, considering when you're going up against the likes of the behemoths of Gonzaga, of St. Mary's, and being able to go toe-to-toe in the interior for 40-plus minutes. I'm not 100% convinced that they have done that. Guillermo Diaz-Graham, very good stretch forward. Like, I really like his game. But who's going to go get the rebounds from Harry Wessels? That's what I want to know. Who's gonna take out the Gonzaga back taps, getting it back out in the front court?
Who's going to bang with Graham Ike?
Yeah, I mean, these are big-time challenges on both ends of the spectrum, and I'm not 100% convinced that USF has addressed that to the best of their ability. Now, you still have Saba Gigi Beria in the program and Dueto Newberry, who's recovering, but is that enough? I'm not 100% convinced it is. And for me, that I think will be the one drawback that I would have about this team to this point, because you look at the games last year against Santa Clara, you have like a guy like Christoph Tilley getting second chance opportunities for the Broncos. And kind of like that's what USF wore down against eventually over the course of time. Is USF bigger and stronger? I still need to see a little bit of it. But for me, that's the one pressure point that I think some teams may try to expose.
I mean, we saw the difference in what the Dons were last year when Newberry went down.
Right.
They were a totally different team once he went down for the year and they didn't have him available because that front line became a lot smaller and a lot less deep. They were throwing kind of things at the wall of seeing if Barry Wang could be that 4-man. They could Benabosi kind of develop a little bit more quickly than they had hoped. What could Gigi Beria like really kind of like step into that role and carry heavier minutes than we've seen him in the past? He played a few more minutes than we've seen, but he wasn't going to be a 30-minute per night sort of guy. So they needed to try to address that. And I agree with you to an extent. Like, I don't know if they fully addressed that, but the David Fuchs, I think, helps to address that because sometimes it's not about height. Sometimes it's just about strength. And I do think they've addressed it in that sort of way. But also they've kind of gone about it in a different way when you think about the wings that they have. Like, they have so many interchangeable parts now when it comes to 1 through 4 that, yes, the 5 might be a bit of a concern, but I don't know if there's going to be many teams who are going to be able to handle the Dons' length as they kind of enter into this season.
I think that's entirely fair. And I think you look at teams of the past, like especially past Gonzaga teams where it was just unfair. Like, you couldn't really hunt a mismatch. It's going to be really hard to hunt a mismatch for USF. Like, if you're on offense, you're trying to get past the Dons defense, it is going to be, in my opinion, like you mentioned, just so difficult to get the right amount of space that you want and kind of like glean forward and try and just get yourself on schedule more than anything. And I'm in your boat on that one because not many teams have the forwards I think that USF has, but I think also at the same time that 5 It's raising my eyebrow a little bit. I'm not sitting here to signal the doom alarm or anything like that, but it's kind of proof in the pudding. If you want to be the best in this conference, you got to find a way to solidify your 5. And I'm not so sure that they've done that, but they've committed to a strategy of at least, being perimeter oriented, and you can commend that for what that's worth.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to talk with Coach Garrison. We're going to talk with Ryan Beasley and Tyrone Riley to get a real sense of what this Dons team has been able to do during the summer and what their expectations are going into this season. So we are here, obviously, at the USF campus. We're starting off with head coach Chris Gerlufsen. Always great to have you on. And we're into September now. The countdown is on. Just like, what's the excitement level for you now that it's like we're getting closer and closer to that start of real games?
Yeah, I mean, the summer's flown past, and look up, and we're already 3 weeks into school, and obviously the start of the season is coming very quickly, and so a lot of work to be done on our part, but really excited about our group, about our returners and the newcomers that we've been able to bring in, and we're looking forward to another special year on the Hilltop.
You talked about the busy summer because there were a lot of new faces that came in and a lot of names that grabbed some attention. Talking about like the Mookie Cooks, the Smiley coming in, and like just kind of talk about like just the number of guys because it feels like the recruiting classes have kind of gotten better and better over the last few years. And how does this one kind of compare to where you've been the last few years on that front?
Yeah, I hope, like, in building a program, they should get better as we go. And I think our staff's done a really good job of identifying guys that fit, number one, how we play. And this year's class, we tried to address some specific needs and think we've done that. But as I said, there's a lot of work to be done. But we're also really excited about the newcomers, and so hopefully we have a chance to talk a little bit more in depth about each of those guys. But again, should be a special year on the Hilltop.
One of my observations over the years, and maybe you want this to be known, maybe you don't want it to be known, but I feel like you're the most animated in-game coach in the league. Maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, however people want to slice that. But kind of what drives you to be that guy who you demand a lot from your team, but because they have it and have shown that to you? What kind of drives you to be that way, and kind of how your players embrace your style in a different avenue?
Yeah, I didn't know I had that that label, but
I like it personally.
I take it as a positive.
Yeah.
It's all obviously coming from an ultra competitive place, and our guys know that, and that's kind of a prerequisite that comes with being a part of our program, is that we're going to compete, and winning and losing matters. And if it doesn't, this probably isn't the right place for you. And our guys know where I'm coming from with that. And they also know at the end of the day that that's my job and our staff's job, is to push our group forward. And luckily we have the right guys in the locker room that can understand where it's all coming from, but it stems from a competitive nature. And that's kind of what we're going to hang our hat on as a program.
And I'm going to be honest, it's one of my favorite things about the way you carry your program, the way you carry yourself, because just like you're eloquently explaining it now, you're equally as fiery out there because you demand the best for the program. And seeing the recent success the Dons have had, it makes sense. You're demanding accountability. How do you how have you seen that transition play over time? You walk in day one as a head coach versus now. How have you kind of seen your temperament, your in-game coaching? How have you kind of seen your own personal development take shape?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. Going from year one to where we are now, I think there's probably a little bit more comfortability on my part. And, I feel like I'm a better coach today than I was, when I first got the job. But have tried to lean into all the things that I kind of valued as an assistant coach. And number one, it starts with the relationship that I have with our players away from the court. And that allows us to really hold them accountable, as you said, from a basketball standpoint. So, and our staff's done a really good job of kind of piggybacking that and making sure that's kind of where we start.
Now, one of the things is that every year teams have different personalities based on the leadership, the makeup of the guys coming in, whatnot. Has this team kind of developed that personality yet? And especially kind of you have some new leaders on this squad. So kind of how has that started to form these first few weeks?
Yeah, I think probably everywhere across college basketball is still figuring that out, at this time of the season. But that's a fun part about coaching kind of in this landscape now is your team, its identity is going to change on a year-to-year basis. What we value as a program isn't going to change, but the names and the faces and the leadership part is going to change year by year. Ryan Beasley and Tyrone Riley have done a really good job of kind of taking that leadership role on. And I think they want that, and they've embraced kind of the process of what goes into that. And I'm really excited for them to kind of transition from where they were last year into a really strong leadership role for our group.
And we'll be talking with both Ryan and Tyrone in a little bit. But you can talk about because this group also is a lot younger than maybe some of the teams like veteran experience you've had in the past. I mean, thinking about even last year having a Malik Thomas and a Marcus Williams, just like how like much senior leadership there was on these squads. And this one is going to be a little bit younger. It's going to be a little bit different on that front. And how has that maybe been different when it comes to either the leadership part or just how they're kind of taking on that role?
Yeah, we're trying to build our program cohesion on a daily basis, and we do have some younger faces, but I think we've also found the balance of trying to stay old too, and so infusing a Mookie Cook, infusing a Guillermo Diaz-Graham, a David Fuchs, a Vukašin Masic, who has played, feels like he's been in the league for 10 years, and there's some comfortability on my part knowing that he's played in a lot of tough WCC games. So I feel like we've been able to address the leadership part through the guys that we've added in the portal, and also empowering guys who have been in our program who are ready to take a step and move into a different role.
So we were actually talking about a little bit before you guys walked in about Vuk and just the importance that he probably is going to have this season. Because again, this is a guy who probably wasn't going to get a lot of shine up at Portland just because of the way the team success was. But this is a really good shooter, is really good scorer, and someone who, you mentioned just that leadership opportunity. Do you think that maybe he is like one of the more underrated like additions that you were able to get?
I think when you watch him and you kind of watch what he's good at, it's a really good fit for how we play. And so when we try to identify guys in the transfer portal, obviously we want to add talent, but it has to match in the right way. And when you look at what his strengths are as a player, he's very smart. He's got a high basketball IQ, but he can really score the basketball too. And so I think given how we play, I expect him to have a sneaky kind of effect on our team, and not to go back too many years, but see a lot of similarities to maybe what a Gabe Stefanini did in our NCAA tournament year. He's a guy who could play on the ball, play off the ball, could score, and just was really smart. So it's been interesting kind of seeing those parallels between those two guys.
You mentioned his name already, but Guillermo Diaz-Graham, it kind of like almost a continuation of what Carlton Lingard was doing, scoring at all three levels, playing solid defense, improving defense. Where do you kind of like rate where you guys are on the interior, kind of like the beef, knowing that Gonzaga, Saint Mary's, they really emphasize rebounding at the end of the day, and you have to last for a full 40-plus minutes?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't rebound and you're not physical against those teams, you have no chance. And so we tried to address some of those needs through the portal. Guillermo is more finesse. I think he is probably a better passer, a better facilitator than what we had a year ago, and that's kind of the intriguing part with him. He presents a pick and pop potential, which we value and love bigs that can stretch the floor. But his ability to pass, I think, is going to be seen pretty early on, and tried to address the physicality part with David Fuchs, a guy who should be one of the more rugged interior guys in our league, I would think, and has the ability to really affect the game from a rebounding standpoint. So excited about those guys. And then Mookie Cook is probably the most versatile out of all the front court guys, and have been really impressed with his basketball knowledge and his willingness to learn and get better. So I think he'll have a really big effect on our front court too.
I mean, we always talk about this team because like you talked about just the commitment to like the winning and everything else. You guys have been a 20+ game winning team, so the 8 of the last 9 years, the pandemic year being the one kind of outlier in that grouping. But when you think about just like the growth that this program has had, and actually was kind of talking about it with Steve Lavin a couple weeks ago about just like this kind of the stages that this new era of college basketball has to have, you know, like the NIL collective, the new performance basketball facility. You guys have kind of earned like year 2 and 3 of those items. How has that just been? How have you seen the difference between maybe year 1 of those projects and now year 3 of where you are? How you're able to recruit, the vibe around the building? How has that changed from the beginning to now?
Yeah. Well, it's hard to move forward if you don't have a good foundation in place. And so the first thing I would say is from a resource standpoint, we started at a pretty good spot. We had a good foundation. We had a collective early on. We had a really gung-ho kind of base of people who helped get that off the ground, and now we've transitioned to everything coming in-house here at USF, and you have to be competitive in those departments, or it's going to be really hard to win. And so we want to make sure we're giving our program, our university, our kids every opportunity to be as good as we can be, and it starts with the resource standpoint. So I think we're better today than we were when we first started.
So as I get my voice back, how have you kind of seen your team's identity take shape? Because you've seen in burst kind of what Ryan was able to do down the stretch of last season, the consistency that Tyrone had in his approach, and obviously all these newcomers we've been talking about in terms of, wanting to imprint what a Chris Gerlufsen team is versus what your players have been giving you. How has that identity been taking shape over the course of these first few months?
Yeah, it's been fun. Number one, as I said earlier, every team is a little bit different in terms of kind of what you hang your hat on. But I think we're a versatile group. I think we're bigger across the board positionally. But now the fun part kind of begins of putting all the pieces together and figuring out how everyone's going to work together to do something bigger than ourselves. And that's kind of the goal with the group. That's the message to the group on a daily basis is we have a lot of pieces, and now it's assembling those pieces and making sure we make it fit together. But we're going to hang our hat on being versatile and having hopefully 5 guys on the floor who can all dribble, pass, and shoot. That's a good starting point.
I would take that too. But, one of the best characteristics of your program over the last years, you guys defended home court, the most home wins in a single season last year. What's it kind of like having the backing of a city like San Francisco, a basketball town? You still have legends like Bill Cartwright around the program. What is it kind of like to contextualize it, bring it all together, and kind of get a little bit of a bounce house going into the facility behind us here on game day?
Yeah, it's become one of the harder places to play on the West Coast, and we're super appreciative to our fans and to what we've done to make this place hard to play in. And a lot of that is attributed to the players. We've taken it personally that you don't let people come in here and get comfortable, and had some really good wins here. We hope to capitalize on that moving forward. But yeah, this is what you should do. You should obviously have a home court advantage. And as I said, that's a credit to our guys and our staff for what we've been able to do here at home.
Wind it back to the roster a little bit. One of the names that jumped out when looking over is that Dweedo Newberry was still on the roster. And obviously, like, he was such a huge part of what this team has been over the last couple of years. Got hurt really early on a year ago. It's kind of like, just speak on just the importance of that he is bringing back with his leadership. Obviously, it sounds like he might be still kind of on the road to recovery, but what's kind of like the situation? What is it like to have Dweedo back in the locker room for another year?
Yeah, it's great. Number one, he's the only guy in the program who's been here as long as myself and Coach Plank in our program. So Dweedo was here when I got here on day one as an assistant, and to have him still around the program and just his veteran voice, although he's not back to 100% yet, we're working towards that, and he's doing really good with his recovery process. But he's another guy who knows me, knows our staff, knows what we do on both sides of the ball. So he's been a great resource for everyone in our program.
All right. So one of the things we want to do, we want to do a little bit of San Francisco this or that to wrap you up.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Oracle Park or Chase Center?
Chase Center all day.
Baker Beach or Ocean Beach?
I'm gonna go with Ocean Beach because it's closer, easier for me to get to from my house.
All right. This is always kind of a little bit of a controversial one in the city for the sandwich bread, sourdough or Dutch crunch.
I gotta be honest. I'm an East Coast guy, so to me, the everything in making a sandwich starts with the bread. I'm not a huge Dutch crunch fan, so I'm gonna go sourdough.
There's nothing wrong with the sourdough. All right, because you mentioned Chase Center, Warriors game or Valkyries game?
You really put him in the corner.
Yeah. And there's either way I answer, I'm gonna catch bullets on this, so I'm gonna go Warriors game.
I mean, both environments are amazing,
For
and
sure. And big shout out to the Valkyrie and what they've done, and the turnout. It's been amazing for the city, so it's been really cool to see.
Yeah, year one, sell out every game and go to the playoffs. Couldn't have asked for much more for that team. Original Joe's or House of Prime Rib?
All right, so Original Joe's are huge supporters of the program. Very, very close with the Dugan family, so I'm gonna go OJ's for sure. But I do take the staff to House of Prime Rib every year before the season starts.
I think it's very different experiences too. So you kind of get different things at both of them. Great steakhouses, but the experience is a little different at both of them.
And then, the very last one, we talked about them right as we got into these seats. The Eagles going for another Lombardi this year. How are we feeling?
We got to try to go back to back for
right.
sure. I'm a huge NFL fan. Huge Eagles fan. 49ers close second. But we're right. Bird gang all day.
The Chris Gerlufsen School of Football says, who's the biggest threat to the Birds this year?
I would love to see a Keystone State Super Bowl. So this is far-fetched. I would love to see a Steelers-Eagles Super Bowl.
A good start for Aaron Rodgers. And you heard Pennsylvania, you've got the gauntlet laid down from the University of San Francisco. Men's basketball head coach Chris Garrison. Coach, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me
here.
Thanks for having me.
Now alongside the two and only Ryan Beasley, Tyrone Riley, USF Dons, two of the more premier basketball players here along the West Coast. And you guys, towards the end of last season, really came into form, really understood of what the ceiling of what USF Dons basketball could be. How have you continued that momentum into the offseason for both of you?
Yes, sir. I think me and Five kind of stepped into that leadership role. We kind of both grown up as players, so we're here to lead as example, but also with our voice learn every day in practice. So just try and attack every day and have the guys follow behind us.
Yeah, to piggyback on that, obviously we had to take a more pivotal role as leaders, stepping up, being one of the few returners here. It's been a hard task for us, but I feel like we've taken that step as far as our talk, our actions, making sure the new guys know what's going on. I feel like we've kind of enhanced our game as well as helped everybody else in this offseason as well.
And you kind of hinted at it a little bit, but in this age of college athletics, it feels like no teams are the same from year to year. How's the process been of implementing what the standard is, what the coaches have said, important to you when you guys were younger here on campus to the new guys here now over the course of this offseason? What's it been like showcasing what you guys demand, not only from yourselves, but everybody else as Dons?
Yeah, so we added 8 to 9 new guys. It's been great additions to our team. But with new guys comes more people that don't understand the offense. So I feel like it takes more time of explaining and helping people get better reps and understand our offense because it's a little tricky at times. It wasn't easy for me to understand it, so I know where they're coming from. So just being a great teammate and a great help is all I can do right now.
Yeah, and being returners, we kind of know what CG likes and what a practice should look like. So we're just trying to lead by example with that. And as long as off the court stuff as well, we usually recruit high character guys. So it's very easy to get along, and with all the new guys as well, it's super competitive in practice. So it's been very fun to play with the guys so far.
Now, one of the things to talk about, that leadership role and kind of growing into that, you had some really good senior leadership last year between Marcus, Malik, Carlton, all in that senior class. Kind of talk about just kind of what you picked up from them when it came to how you should kind of carry yourselves or bring into this season preparation wise on the court, dealing with the new guys. What were you able to pick up from them?
I think just being everyday guys. I think being the top of the leaderboard, being a leader, if you're not able to show up every day and go as hard as you can, why should other guys? So I think I've learned that from Marcus and Malik. For sure, they came every day ready to go, extra voice, playing extra hard on defense. Every day it was being an everyday guy for sure.
Yeah, I would say, with the mentality, the team is only going to go as far as we take them. So if we come in with a mindset like, oh, we're tired, but let's push through the day. Let's not get through it. Let's actually have a good day and not waste a day. Then I feel like everybody else is going to trickle in and have that same mindset. But if they see us slacking and walking around, not talking, then they're going to feel like that's okay. And that's not the standard of our team. Like, we hold a high standard here. So me and him have to set the tone early and uphold that standard.
Now, one thing, talking about upholding that standard, 20 wins, 8 of the last 9 seasons. And the one thing about a lot of people are pretty excited about this incoming class of what you were able to bring in, and how when you started to see kind of like either the lanes start to pop in, you started to hear rumors even during the summer or whatever else, who was going to be joining the roster. How excited do you guys get when you start to kind of like to picture what that could look like in January and February, and obviously like getting into March?
Yeah, like right now we're in September, and I know I can speak for both of us. We're really excited about this team. I feel like this team's gonna make a lot of noise, especially with our first off non-conference games. We have a lot of great opportunities to shock the world, and I feel like by the time November comes, we're gonna turn a lot of heads. You know, San Francisco's not gonna be just one mid-major program. We're gonna be a powerhouse team that you need to really look forward to, and not just a small program.
Also, piggyback what he said, we're super excited, but we also understand it's a long process and have to go by every day, each day, get better every day at practice, whatever. But super excited, but we're humble and hungry. I think those are the 2 words for us.
And I think it's very noticeable when you guys play how hungry that you guys are out on the court. You take no prisoners. You won the most home games that you have won in a single season as a program last year. As the process has taken shape for this season, who are some of those guys that have surprised you and then will eventually surprise the fan base when they come watch the USF Dons play?
Surprised me. I mean, I love the whole squad. It's hard to just pick out a few guys, but someone who I'm super excited to play with is Mookie Cook. I played with him in high school, AAU, so super excited to see his face, and he has a new demeanor to him. I feel like he's super humble, super hungry, ready to go. So I'm excited about what he's going to bring to us this year.
For me, you know, I'm a second year. I'll pick out a freshman, Legend Smiley. I feel like he's going to be a great addition to our team. He reminds me a little bit of me last year. Humble, hungry, and ready to work. You know, do whatever. He's a team player. You know, whatever it takes to win. I feel like he's going to be able to take that role, whatever it is, whatever it may be. And I feel like he's going to try to be the best that he can be at it. You know, he's young, so, you know, it comes with a lot of mistakes and stuff. But it just comes with experience. You know, playing, the more reps you get, the more confidence you get. And that's the better for our team.
Ryan, for you specifically, it's been well documented about the relationship you've had with your brother Robbie, and obviously playing alongside him for these last few seasons. Now that he's obviously not with the program in a player capacity anymore, but what's it like still like leaning on him for advice and kind of bettering your game through still playing with him, obviously, back at home when you guys still get to lace him up?
Yeah, I mean, besides basketball, he's just my big brother, so he's a very big support to me. So whether it's a good day, a bad day, I can always lean on him, call him whenever I want. He actually just flew out to Germany, so I'm going to have to get my WhatsApp going on. So, I mean, just a huge support for me when he was here. We lived together, watched film all the time. So, just been a huge support to me, and then it's my big bro.
Now, you mentioned Mookie Cook. Have you gotten to talk to him about like the experience he had with LeBron or at all, of like making the movie a couple years ago?
Here and there. I haven't seen the movie just yet. It's been mostly basketball film.
Yeah.
We're super excited about the year and locked in on that, but maybe got to watch the movie with him.
I'm not sure he gets enough of that all the
Yeah,
time.
I'm sure people walk to him all the
Like to
time.
skip it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do make jokes. We call him LeBron in practice sometimes.
Yeah.
So.
One of the guys you're pretty familiar with who came in, Vukasin Masic, coming over from Portland. You're pretty familiar with him, having read all the scouting reports on him when you've seen the pilots. What has him coming in been like, and just what he's been able to bring? Because obviously this is someone who's also been around for 4+ years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just like you said, he's been around for a long time. He's a vet. He knows how it should look. He knows what every day should look like. And as far as on the court stuff, he kind of gives me a little break. He's a very good point guard, can pass the ball a lot, and it just helps me out a lot for sure. As far as off the court as well, super cool guy, very good leader, and excited to play in the backcourt with him this year.
I'll just say whoever has to guard him, you're going to have a rough time. You know, in practice, I try to make him better as he makes me better. Like yesterday was a real competitive day. He had me running around screens all day, and it kind of wore me down after a while. You know, I feel like he's going to be able to – a lot of teams' defenders are going to have a rough time. They can't sleep. They have to pay attention to him at all times. He can shoot the ball. He can come off screens, and he's always moving. So I feel like that's going to be a great asset to our team.
Feel like from coaches and players alike, as soon as the season ends, there's always a drive to want to get better right off the bat. All right, I want more games. You know, we have a chance to go prove ourselves even more. For both of you, What are some of those things that you immediately turn towards in the offseason? You're like, all right, if I get better at this, the way our team could be viewed could be exponentially better than we already are now.
Yeah, for me, I would say like coming into the offseason, it was more like me getting healthy. Obviously in Loyola Chicago, I had an injury. So I've been just trying to do whatever I can to get 100% back to be here for the team by the time season comes. But obviously I had a meeting with CG and the coaching staff, and we pinpointed stuff I need to get better at with, taking the role of being an on-ball player, being able to make more reads and being able to facilitate an offense is something that I really pride myself in getting better at. And I feel like that would make our team so much better if I can do that.
Yeah, as far as what I've said, getting healthy for sure after the season's a long road, as everyone knows, and just getting healthy, getting stronger for sure. But as far as player-wise, I think just trying to run in the show. I think last year, the games I started, I had jumped into that role, and with Marcus being out. But just being an overall leader, I think every day I can't come in and have an off day. It's just being an everyday guy and showing the guys, like, follow my lead and stuff like that, and just playing on the court like myself.
One last question on leadership, because I know Zach and I have harped on it quite a bit, but it's not linear for everybody, and it's not fair to expect everybody to assume those roles right away. For both of you, what's the journey been like, and how have the coaching staff gone back and forth with you and saying, hey, realize your own voice, like maybe you don't know that you have it, but we see it in you. How have you guys taken shape during that leadership process and journey?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, coming into the school, I knew this role would come, but I knew I had to take these steps as a freshman, play to get behind some guys like Marcus Williams, Malik Thomas. So I for sure been in these roles freshman year, sophomore year, little increase, but now it's my time to come into that role. And I've waited my turn, and CG knows that as well. Like, it's my turn to really take over the role.
Yeah, I would say obviously like coming into my freshman year here, it was more, I was like thrown into the fire. So I kind of got like experience really early, being thrown in the fire as a freshman. It's a lot of expectations, and I feel like I've exceeded those expectations. And now this year with that is just more expectations. There's always more that is needed. And I feel like my voice and my actions is going to be the main important thing for me being a leader this year. Like if I'm encouraging in the guys that don't get it, they have a bad play, trying to get them to go to the next play and be better, because I know that they're going to impact us later in the game or later in the season to make a winning play. Keeping them and keeping everybody's head steady and focused on the goal is kind of what I want to do as a leader.
All right, so wrap it up. We're going to do a little bit of San Francisco, this or that. We did this with Coach, so we're going to do it with you guys. All right, first off, it's like Oracle Park or Chase Center?
Chase Center.
I've only been to Chase Center,
Okay.
so I can only say Chase Center.
All right, Baker Beach or Ocean Beach?
I'm going to go Baker Beach, because Ocean Beach, we had a very rough sand workout, and I do not want to go back there. So Baker Beach.
I may or may not have seen that workout.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Baker Beach. I've been to both beaches, obviously, but I like Baker Beach. We went as a team last year. It was pretty fun, pretty chill vibe, so I like that.
No mention from Coach on that Ocean Beach workout.
Oh no.
Because he was sitting on the sideline watching. He's not doing it.
He's just in the lawn chair at the top.
Yeah,
just
I was sitting next to him most of those workouts too. So I was just having a happy laugh at everybody.
All right, this is kind of usually like the sandwich question of like sourdough or Dutch crunch.
Dutch crunch for sure. Dutch crunch.
Coach is shaking his head.
He doesn't know about McBaker Dutch crunch sandwiches. That's why.
All right, clam chowder bowl or Cioppino?
Neither. I don't eat. I'm picky.
It's
I don't eat clam chowder at all.
all right. Like Warriors game or Valkyries game?
I'm gonna go Valkyries. I've never been to a game with their new team going on. I've been to plenty of Warriors games, so I'm gonna go Valkyries.
I've never been to a Valkyrie game. I might have to go, but I did go to a few Warriors playoff games this year, and the atmosphere was through the roof.
Yeah, it's hard to beat Warrior playoff game.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, the ice cream question: Byright, Humphrey Slocum, or Mitchell's?
What is that?
They're all three different ice cream brands in the city. I didn't ask him that one.
Are these different brands?
Yes, they're all in San Francisco.
What sounds the best? I'm gonna go Humphrey.
Can I see what they look like?
That's it.
Live on the spot. They're going to get a scouting report. Yeah.
Scout.
All right. So while Zach does that, your guys' go-to taquerias or Mexican places in the city or nearby?
Ooh, what's this place on Haight Street Taco?
Street taco.
Yeah, street taco.
Yeah, street
Get
taco
it-
fire.
go get a quesadilla from there. It's fire.
Street taco fire.
In and out, yay or nay?
In and out.
In and out for sure.
Yeah.
I just got to make sure because that's something that
Cali,
There's
yeah,
one right here in Fisherman's Wharf, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
No drive. Yeah, Daly City. That's
That's the drive-thru.
for those who don't know. You go to Daly City, you avoid a lot of traffic. You know.
Facts.
Ryan, I feel obligated to ask now that we asked about Warriors home playoff games. Did you go to Roracle at all?
For
Yeah,
sure.
okay.
Yeah, I was a big Monte Ellis fan. Andre Beedrins, Andrew Bogut. I was there
Okay.
for all those times.
Okay.
Darrell Revis. I was there.
Okay, so Zach is going through a Fast and the Furious.
He's trying to pull him up.
See, nobody can tell us that we don't do things for these guys. Like we may do something very, very small but very impactful here.
All
Let's
right.
go.
Now, being growing up in the city, the one that pops in my mind is Mitchell's, which is
Mitchell's.
down off of San Jose Avenue, down in Richmond. So,
Gotcha.
or down in not the Mission. They have ube ice cream. They have they go to a bunch of mango ice cream, cantaloupe. They kind of do it all.
Might have to go there. I might have to go
Mitchell's
to some
on
of
fire.
these places.
The coach is like, yeah, maybe in the off season.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We don't eat too much. No.
I think I'm gonna go like this week, maybe.
Yeah, we don't. Eat too
Okay,
many
so
sweets.
okay, well, you guys getting ice cream. What are you getting then?
I'm kind of simple. I
I'm
get just
cookies and cream.
I get vanilla. I'm simple.
Vanilla straight up.
Yeah, vanilla.
Cookies and cream or sherbet.
toppings, nothing.
Yeah, I'm about to say,
Nah,
man.
maybe some Oreo stuff on
Okay.
top. Nothing too crazy.
If you go vanilla, you got to get Oreo or,
Yeah.
or caramel.
Yeah.
But
All right, and lastly, because I'm obsessed with food-related questions, your
Yeah.
biggest food hot take that people may crucify you for.
I mean, everyone loves sushi. I hate sushi. I
Ew.
can never eat sushi. I don't like
Mm.
sushi at all. You have anything?
sushi is disgusting.
Yeah, no. I feel like most of the
I-
team
I-
like sushi. I don't eat
I
sushi.
think that is the hot take.
Yeah.
Well, see, I have to offer this up because I can't set them up like that and then not deliver myself.
Yeah.
I hate Chipotle.
What?
Go to a taqueria, dude.
That's Chipotle. That's
Chipotle is fire.
No,
That's
not happening. It's not
Chipotle
happening on
is
my watch.
fire.
Like,
I'll say this though, Chipotle I don't count as Mexican food. Chipotle is Chipotle.
but there are too many
Yeah.
people that do.
It's Chipotle fast food.
Chipotle is fast food.
Chipotle is fast food.
What?
Is Chipotle fast food though?
I would say
I
it
don't
is
think-
because
I don't know.
it's real fast. Like once you're in the line, it's like it goes pretty quickly.
But it's
It's
like it's
fast.
made fresh though.
All right,
Give it up.
we can keep the Chipotle conversation going for a long time. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. Thanks a lot, Ryan. Thanks a lot, Tyrone, for
Appreciate
stopping
you
by,
coming by.
Don's basketball, and yeah, we'll be catching up with you some point during the season.
Yes, sir. Go Dons.
All right, so it's great to have Coach. Great to have both Ryan and Tyrone talk about where USF is this year. Obviously, this team there's a lot of high expectations for this one, and for most, I think it's higher than we've seen probably since their tournament year back in 22.
That's entirely fair because you look at just the amount of juice surrounding the program. Ryan Beasley, you kind of think of the mold of one of those USF guards that can make a name for himself. You think of another guy like Tyrone Riley, a forward who can make a name for himself. And right now, I think the one thing we're looking for is who's going to be that guy like Johan Misalski from a few years ago. Take the banner as the center, the big beef of the Dons lineup. But I think there's so much momentum surrounding this program right now. And I think it's entirely on the table to go back to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, you think about like the David Fuchses, the Guillermo Diaz Graham, like those are guys who could be those next guys to step up into that sort of role. And there's, again, we talked about this, the portal class. There's so much to kind of look into there. There's going, and honestly, but to me, I think it is still centered on the two we talked to. It's centered on Ryan Beasley. It's centered on Tyrone Riley and how much their growth and how much their leadership is going to carry this team, because really it's like, they are the connector to what has been the USF legacy, if you want to call it that, over the last few years. And this team, I think we can agree, you look at their schedule, the schedule is there for them to get an at-large style resume. They're going to have the game at Memphis. They're going to play Loyola. They're going to be they play the game against Mississippi State. They have the game against Minnesota. Like they're stacking this schedule so that they have the opportunity to be in the conversation once we get to March.
It's what you need to do. And I think you look at a program with the stature of USF and you think of other teams in the conference trying to schedule similarly. this is exactly what they need to do. Give themselves opportunities. You give yourself an opportunity, you win the bulk of those games, people are going to be talking about you. All right. And whether that ends up in an at-large bid or not, we'll find out. But I think more than anything, on paper, when you take a step back and you say, okay, what is USF doing to help themselves to start the season? In my opinion, they're doing a lot with their non-conference. I think it's welcomed. And I think regardless of what ends up happening, they've put themselves and they put their best foot forward.
Yeah, and then obviously, like we've kind of started doing, we've talked about floors and ceilings of each of these teams, and for USF, I mean, the floor is high. Like I think, like again, like we've kind of talked about, the floor for USF over the last like 5 years is higher than anyone in the WCC outside of Gonzaga Saint Mary's. You know exactly what they're going to do against the teams that they should beat. They have made it very clear. They've been consistent and clearing the deck on teams that they are supposed to take care of. It has been, what do they do against everybody else? So the floor for this team, to me, like, I mean, third place actually seems like the floor for this team, because I think they've separated themselves from the rest of the league. And the ceiling, it's NCAA tournament, and there is a shot that they could actually leapfrog one of Gonzaga or St. Mary's in the WCC standings.
So I'm also going to agree on the floor and say third place, because I think they're more of a known quantity than, say, Santa Clara right now. I think more experience back, more returning production, and more of, like, I would say more top end, at least at this point. USF, as definitely, as you mentioned, they take care of business. They do what they need to do. You think about their record at home last year, most home wins in a single season for the program, as you've heard me, belabor for on end with CG and the players. USF, they know who they are. They don't kind of shy away from it. And for me, at least, the way they play always conduces itself to good basketball situations. And I think third place is the floor. I also am in agreement that the NCAA tournament is the ceiling. However, I do think if everything falls right, and seeing as close as they've gotten to both of these big time programs, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they're going to sit here and go 4-0 against Gonzaga and Saint Mary's, or even 5-0 in the WCC, counting the WCC tournament. They can win the conference in the regular season. If things go correctly, they can win this conference. I mean, I think you look at and that may be more of a reflection of more questions with Gonzaga and Saint Mary's than as opposed to USF. But I think that gap, at least to me, is as small as it has been in recent memory to start a season.
Well, that's going to be a soundbite, and we're clipping that for social media, and we're going to let him take all the heat.
It's not heat, man. It's not heat. And again, I'm not sitting here prognosticating that they will, but like, you sit here and look at.
You tell that to the Zag fans when
I will.
win.
I will. I mean, here's the thing. All you have to do is look at yourself in the mirror. That's all you have to do, because be honest with yourself and say, yeah, we can win 70 out of 100 times, but that 30 is a lot bigger than it was. Maybe say it was 85-15 or 90-10, even 5 years ago. Like the gap to me is smaller, and I'm not going here and outright and projecting it, especially like a preseason poll. Like, I'm just saying, at its peak, everything working together, all things considered, and with the additional questions that we've both raised with both of those programs, it can happen.